Okay, welcome back. And in this video, we're going to talk about the receiver here. The receiver is in a special location, and the reason for that is that there's software that recognizes the orientation in this thing, so it has to be in this orientation, so they have glued it down so you can't remove it. Okay, don't remove it. There are two dip switches. Let me get a little closer here so you can see these. Okay, so there are two dip switches here and here. Okay, so right here there's two dip switches, and they're both down. Okay, I guess that says dip switch 1 and dip switch 2. And then there's a legend here that says what happens to, on or off. So they're both in the down or off position. And this little legend here explains what happens. For our purposes, the default is correct. We don't have to change anything. But it's if you had a different radio that had only a 2-position switch, you have options. But because of the radio that came with it and any other radio that I'm going to use, the receiver's safe mode functions will be assigned to a 3-position switch, and so that'll be fine. So don't move it. The dip switches are in the off position and should remain so, which is the default. Okay. The other thing about the receiver is that it has these two leads coming from it for the ailerons. Okay, so these two things are where you plug the aileron in. Now, let me widen out a little bit here. Okay. So the first off, these aren't very long, and it becomes difficult to connect the wires from the wing into these. So I'm going to use a heavier duty Y harness. This is the JR brand. Horizon Hobby has several brands. JR is one of them. And as you can see, it's a heavy duty Y harness, and you see the number there. And but they also make a Spectrum version of the same thing. It's the exact same wire, probably the same cost. So what I'm going to do is this Y harness is probably around 12 inches long. You'll see how long it is in a second as soon as I get it out of the package. Okay, so that's going to go into the receiver, and that's about 12 inches, and that's what you're going to plug your ailerons into. So first off, I want you to note before you pull this old one out that the brown wire is on the bottom, okay, and the brown wire is on the bottom of all of them. So if you carefully wiggle this out, there it is. Okay, now you can see those are very tiny wires compared to the size of these wires. Okay, so this is a heavy duty harness, this is a light duty harness. I think the heavy duty harness works better. So now I'm going to put this brown wire back in to the between the throttle wire and the elevator wire, and this is called the aileron wire. Okay, so this is the aileron servo. Black wire here is to the bottom, and you just put that in. And as you do that, you should verify that the top of each of these wires are the same height. Okay, so all of the connectors are the top of the black thing you just put in there are even across, meaning it's been plugged in all the way. Okay, so now you'll have a nice. So now you have a nice long wire, so that when you get to put the wing on, it'll be much easier to put the wing on, fold the wire back in here like that, and it'll be out of the way of everything. So that's the receiver. We've improved it a little bit by putting a better wire harness. You don't have to you can use the wire harness that came with it. You'll find that these thin wires may have a tendency to break because you're going to be tugging on them all the time. But you can fly with that. You just need to make sure before you take off that both ailerons are working, and I'll show you that in a future video about how to pre-flight your aircraft. Okay. So that's receiver. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.